Jessica never thought a dinner reservation in San Francisco would expose the secret she'd been hiding for 3 years. She sits frozen at the elegant restaurant table in Pacific Heights, her hand covering her mouth as Jai-ho's parents stare at the diamond ring on her left hand. The one she forgot to take off. The wine glass tips over, red liquid spreading across the white tablecloth, and Jai-ho's mother stands up so fast her chair scrapes against the marble floor. His father's face turns cold as stone. Jessica's heart pounds because this was never supposed to happen. She looks at Jai-ho, whose jaw tightens, and she knows their carefully hidden marriage is about to blow up their entire lives. The restaurant buzzes with the quiet conversations of wealthy diners, but at their table, silence cuts like a knife. Jessica's locks fall forward as she instinctively tries to hide her hand under the table, but it's too late. Mrs. Kang's eyes are fixed on the ring, her mouth opening and closing like she wants to speak, but can't find the words. Mr. Kang leans back in his chair, his expression unreadable, which somehow feels worse than anger. Jai-ho reaches for Jessica's other hand under the table, squeezing it tight enough that she knows he's just as scared as she is. 3 years ago, Jessica was a struggling freelance photographer in San Jose, barely making rent in her studio apartment. Her days consisted of shooting small weddings, corporate headshots, and the occasional product photography for local businesses. She'd graduated from San Francisco State University with a photography degree and massive student debt, working 3 jobs to put herself through school after her parents died in a car accident when she was 19. Life wasn't easy, but she was making it work. She had her art, her tiny apartment with decent light for editing, and her best friend Rochelle who kept her sane. Then Jai-ho walked into her gallery showing at the Museum of Modern Art in downtown San Francisco, and everything changed. She noticed him immediately because he stood out in the crowd of art enthusiasts and tech investors. He was tall, impeccably dressed in a dark suit, and he studied each of her photographs with an intensity that made her nervous. Her collection focused on urban landscapes and the hidden beauty in everyday San Francisco life, street vendors in Chinatown, morning fog over the Golden Gate Bridge, faces of homeless individuals she'd befriended and photographed with permission. When Jai-ho approached her at the end of the evening, he told her he wanted to buy every single photograph in the collection, all 20 pieces, without negotiating the price. Jessica thought he was joking. When she realized he was serious, she thought he was just another rich tech investor with money to burn. The sale would clear her debt and fund her business for a year. She accepted, trying to keep her hands from shaking as she wrote down her contact information. 3 days later, Jai-ho called and asked her to dinner. She said yes before she could overthink it. Their first date was at a small Italian restaurant in North Beach. Jai-ho was charming, funny, and surprisingly down to earth. He asked about her work, her life, her dreams. He told her he worked in import-export business and real estate development. He didn't mention the armed bodyguards who waited outside or the fact that his family controlled one of the most powerful Korean syndicates on the West Coast. Jessica just thought he was a successful businessman who happened to be interested in her. Their second date shattered that illusion. They were walking through the Marina District after dinner when Jessica noticed the black SUVs following them. 2 vehicles, always staying a block behind, turning when they turned. When she pointed it out, Jai-ho's expression shifted from relaxed to alert in seconds. He pulled her into a coffee shop and made a quick phone call in Korean. 10 minutes later, a different car picked them up, and they went straight to his penthouse in Pacific Heights. That's when Jai-ho told her the truth. His full name was Kang Jai-ho, and his family ran operations that stretched from Seoul to San Francisco. They controlled shipping routes, owned dozens of legitimate businesses that masked their other activities, and had connections that reached into every level of West Coast commerce. He was sent to America 5 years ago to expand their territory and manage their investments. He was 32 years old, heir to a criminal empire, and completely trapped by his family's expectations. Before we continue, if you're loving this story so far, please click on the subscribe button and comment your favorite part of the story as you watch to the end. Seriously, it means everything to me. Also, do well to click on the like button so I know you want more stories like this. Now, let's continue. Jessica should have run. She should have blocked his number, moved to a different city, and never looked back. But she didn't. Maybe it was the way Jai-ho looked at her like she was the first real thing in his carefully constructed life. Maybe it was the vulnerability in his voice when he told her he understood if she never wanted to see him again. Or maybe she was just tired of playing it safe and following all the rules that had kept her small and struggling. They kept dating. Jai-ho was careful to keep her separate from his business, introducing her to his associates as his girlfriend, but never bringing her to family events or important meetings. Jessica learned to spot his security team, learned which restaurants were safe and which neighborhoods to avoid. She learned that Jai-ho was nothing like the ruthless operator his reputation suggested. He was kind, thoughtful, and deeply lonely. He'd spent his entire life following his father's orders, building the family empire, never allowed to choose anything for himself. 6 months into their relationship, Jai-ho proposed. They were at Ocean Beach, watching the sunset, and he pulled out a ring that must have cost more than Jessica's entire annual income. He told her he loved her, that she made him feel free for the first time in his life, and that he wanted to spend forever with her. Then he told her the truth about what marriage would mean. His parents were already arranging a match with a woman from a powerful Seoul family. His father expected him to marry someone who would strengthen their business connections and continue their bloodline with pure Korean children. An outsider, especially a Black American woman with no family wealth or connections, would never be accepted. Jai-ho said he didn't care what his parents wanted. He wanted Jessica. But he also knew that revealing their relationship would put her in danger and tear his family apart. So he proposed a secret marriage. They would get married legally but tell no one. Jessica would keep her maiden name, continue living in her apartment, and maintain her separate life. To the world, she would just be his girlfriend. It wasn't fair, and Jai-ho knew it. He gave Jessica an out, told her she deserved better than a hidden life. Jessica said yes anyway. She loved him too much to walk away, and she understood the impossible position he was in. They got married at San Jose City Hall on a rainy Thursday afternoon with 2 paid witnesses who signed confidentiality agreements. Jessica wore a simple white dress she'd bought on sale. Jai-ho wore a suit and cried when they exchanged vows. They had no reception, no family, no celebration. Just each other and a marriage certificate they locked away in a safe deposit box. For 3 years, they made it work. Jessica wore her ring only in private, usually when she stayed at Jai-ho's penthouse on weekends. She continued building her photography business, now with the financial stability that came from Jai-ho's support, though she made sure to keep their finances legally separate. To her friends and clients, Jai-ho was just her boyfriend, a private businessman who traveled frequently. To Jai-ho's associates, Jessica was the American girlfriend he'd probably get tired of eventually. They both played their roles perfectly, meeting in secret, stealing moments of real life between the lies. Now, sitting in this restaurant with Jai-ho's parents staring at her ring, Jessica realizes their carefully constructed world is collapsing. Mrs. Kang finally finds her voice, speaking in rapid Korean that Jessica doesn't understand but recognizes as furious. Jai-ho responds in Korean, his voice calm but firm, and Jessica can hear the steel underneath. She's learned enough Korean over the years to catch a few words. Wife, marriage, love. Mr. Kang raises a hand, silencing both of them. When he speaks, it's in perfect English, each word precise and cold. We will leave now and discuss this privately. Jessica, you will come with us. It's not a request. Jessica looks at Jai-ho, who nods slightly. They both know refusing would make everything worse. The drive to Jai-ho's parents' mansion takes 40 minutes, heading south through Silicon Valley to Atherton, one of the wealthiest zip codes in America. Jessica has never been to the Kang family home. She's seen photos, knows it's a massive estate hidden behind gates and security, but being there in person is different. The mansion is beautiful in a cold way, all modern architecture and expensive art that feels more like a museum than a home. Inside, Mrs. Kang doesn't waste time with pleasantries. They gather in a formal living room that probably costs more than Jessica will earn in her lifetime, and Mrs. Kang unleashes 3 years of expectations and disappointment. She speaks in English now, her accent thick but her meaning crystal clear. She talks about the daughter of a sole business partner, a woman named Haewon who was supposed to marry Jai-ho. She talks about bloodlines and legacy, and the shame of their son marrying beneath himself. She talks about Jessica like she's not in the room, referring to her as this woman and the American. Jessica sits perfectly still, her hands folded in her lap, her face neutral. She's learned over the years that showing emotion in situations like this only makes things worse. Jai-ho sits beside her, his body tense, and she can feel him preparing to explode. Mr. Kang remains silent, watching both of them with eyes that miss nothing. Mrs. Kang's voice rises. Do you know what you have done? Do you understand the agreements that were made? The promises to Haewon's family? The business partnerships that depend on this marriage? There is no marriage, Jai-ho says, his voice cutting through his mother's words. I'm already married to Jessica 3 years ago. It's legal, it's done, and I'm not ending it. The silence that follows is absolute. Mrs. Kang's face drains of color, and for a moment, Jessica thinks she might faint. Mr. Kang's expression doesn't change, but something shifts in the room, a subtle tension that makes Jessica's skin prickle with warning. 3 years, Mr. Kang says softly. You have lied to us for 3 years. I protected the woman I love, Jai-ho responds, because I knew you would react exactly like this. Mrs. Kang starts crying, which surprises Jessica more than the anger did. She says something in Korean that sounds like a prayer or a plea. Mr. Kang stands and walks to the window, looking out at the manicured gardens. When he turns back, his face is composed, businesslike. Jai-ho, you will listen carefully. You have made a choice that affects not just yourself, but the entire family. The arrangement with Haewon's family is not simply about marriage. It is about business, about alliances, about our position in both Korea and America. You have jeopardized all of that he glances at Jessica, for this. Jessica wants to defend herself, to list her accomplishments and her worth, but she knows it won't matter. In Mr. Kang's world, she is valuable only in terms of what she brings to the family, and the answer is nothing. Mr. Kang continues, I will give you 30 days to annul this marriage quietly. We will tell Haewon's family that there was a delay, a complication that has been resolved. You will marry Haewon as planned, and we will never speak of this again. No, Jai-ho says simply. Then you will lose everything. Mr. Kang's voice doesn't rise, but the threat is absolute. Your position in the family, your access to our resources, your protection. Your brother Min-jun will take over the American operations. You will be cut off completely, and you will face the consequences of betraying our agreements. Jai-ho stands, pulling Jessica up with him. Then I'm out. I'd rather lose everything than lose her. Mrs. Kang's sobs grow louder. Mr. Kang makes a phone call in Korean, speaking briefly before hanging up. Min-jun will arrive tomorrow to begin the transition. You have 30 days to reconsider. If you change your mind, we will forgive this mistake. If you do not, you are no longer my son. The drive back to San Francisco is silent. Jessica stares out the window, watching the lights of Silicon Valley blur past. When they get to Jai-ho's penthouse, she finally speaks. I'll sign annulment papers. No. Jai-ho, I can't let you lose your family for me. I can't. Stop. He pulls her close and she can feel him shaking. I chose you, Jessica. I chose you 3 years ago when I asked you to marry me. I'm not changing my mind now. But Jessica sees the pain in his eyes, and she knows this decision is tearing him apart. She holds him while he processes what just happened, and she makes a decision of her own. If they're going to survive this, she needs to understand his world better. She needs to stop being the protected outsider and start being a partner who can actually help. 2 weeks pass, and the Kang family goes silent, which worries Jessica more than their anger did. She continues her photography work, trying to maintain some sense of normalcy. She has a shoot scheduled in Palo Alto for a tech startup that needs promotional content for their website. She arrives early, sets up her equipment in their modern office space, and spends 3 hours capturing the energy of their young team. It's good work, the kind of assignment that used to thrill her. Now she can barely focus, constantly checking her phone for messages from Jai-ho. On the drive back to San Francisco, she notices a black sedan following her. Different from Jai-ho's security team, more aggressive in how it maintains distance. When she mentions it to Jai-ho that evening, he confirms her suspicions. His father is having her investigated, looking for anything to use against her. Jessica feels violated by the invasion of privacy, but tries to tell herself she has nothing to hide. She's never broken the law, never done anything worse than underpaying her taxes 1 year when business was slow. The harassment starts small. A negative review appears on her business website from a client she's never worked with, claiming she stole equipment and delivered terrible photos. Jessica reports it as fake, but more reviews appear. Then her website crashes and stays down for 48 hours despite her web developer's attempts to fix it. When it finally comes back online, her contact forms have been corrupted, and potential clients can't reach her. 3 major clients cancel their contracts within 3 days. A boutique hotel in Napa Valley that hired her to photograph their renovated property suddenly claims they're going in a different direction. A tech company cancels a 6-month contract for employee headshots. A wedding client who booked her a year in advance apologizes profusely and says her fiancé's family insists on using their photographer instead. Each cancellation comes with a plausible excuse, but Jessica knows the truth. Mr. Kang is systematically destroying her business. Then her landlord shows up at her apartment in San Jose, claiming her lease has irregularities and threatening eviction. Jessica has been a perfect tenant for 4 years, always paying on time, never causing problems. She asks to see the supposed irregularities, and the landlord becomes evasive, saying his lawyer will contact her. The next day, she receives an eviction notice based on a technicality about her business license and using her apartment for commercial purposes. It's flimsy legally, but fighting it will cost money and time she doesn't have. Jessica sits in her apartment surrounded by her photography equipment and feels the walls closing in. She's worked so hard to build her business, to create something of her own, and it's being destroyed piece by a man with unlimited resources and no conscience. When Jai-ho arrives that evening, she's crying for the first time since this whole nightmare started. He's taking everything from me, she says. My business, my home, my reputation. He's making it so I have no choice but to leave you. Jai-ho looks devastated. I didn't think he would go this far. I thought... He stops, running his hands through his hair. I'm going to talk to him. This is between him and me. He has no right to go after you. It won't work, Jessica says. He's doing this specifically because it will hurt you more than anything he could do to you directly. Jessica spends the weekend researching lawyers who handle contract disputes and tenant rights. She schedules a consultation with a lawyer in downtown San Jose, a middle-aged woman named Patricia Chen who listens to Jessica's situation with increasing concern. After Jessica finishes explaining, Patricia leans back in her chair and delivers the hard truth. You're fighting people with unlimited resources and connections. Every lawyer you hire, every case you file, they can counter with 10 more. They'll drag things out until you're bankrupt from legal fees alone. Most lawyers won't even take your case once they realize who you're up against. Patricia pauses. I'm going to be honest with you, Jessica. Your best option is to negotiate a payout and disappear. Take enough money to start over somewhere else and count yourself lucky to get out. Jessica leaves the office feeling sick because she knows Patricia is right. She can't win a straight fight against the Kang family. But the idea of running away, of letting them destroy her life and her marriage without resistance, makes her furious. She's not that person. She didn't survive her parents' death, 4 years of working 3 jobs, and building a business from nothing just to be scared off by a rich man having a tantrum. That evening, Jessica gets a call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end is female, older, speaking English with a Korean accent. Jessica Rivera, my name is Mrs. Yoon. I am a friend of the Kang family. If you want to know the real reason they are fighting so hard against your marriage, meet me tomorrow at 2 o'clock at the restaurant in Santana Row. Come alone. The line goes dead before Jessica can ask questions. She tells Jaiho about the call, and he's immediately suspicious. Mrs. Yoon is a name he recognizes from his childhood, an old friend of his mother's, but he hasn't seen her in years. He tells Jessica not to go, that it could be a trap. Jessica disagrees. She needs information, and she's willing to take the risk. The next day, Jessica drives to Santana Row, an upscale shopping district in San Jose. The restaurant is elegant and expensive, exactly the kind of place that used to make her feel out of place before she met Jaiho. Mrs. Yoon is already seated at a corner table, a woman in her 50s dressed in a tailored suit, her gray hair cut in a stylish bob. She gestures for Jessica to sit. Thank you for coming, Mrs. Yoon says. I know you have no reason to trust me, so I will be direct. The Kang family is not fighting your marriage because you are black or because you are not Korean. Those things matter to them, yes, but they are not the real problem. Then what is? Jessica asks. Mrs. Yoon orders tea for both of them before answering. Haewon's family in Seoul is connected to a business partnership worth $50 million. Shipping routes, real estate developments, technology investments. The marriage between Jaiho and Haewon was arranged as part of this deal 3 years ago. If Jaiho does not marry Haewon, Mr. Kang loses the partnership, and worse, he loses face with the family elders in Korea. Jessica processes this information. So this is about money. Everything is always about money and power, Mrs. Yoon says. Love and tradition are just the stories people tell to make the real reasons sound noble. Mr. Kang has been working on this Seoul partnership for 5 years. It is his legacy project, the deal that will cement his reputation. Your marriage threatens all of that. Why are you telling me this? Mrs. Yoon smiles sadly. Because I have known the Kang family for 30 years, and I have watched them sacrifice too many good things for business. Jaiho is a good man trapped in a bad system. You are fighting for something real. I thought you deserved to know what you are actually fighting against. She slides a piece of paper across the table with a phone number written on it. This is Minjun's private number. Jaiho's younger brother. Talk to him. He may be able to help you in ways Jaiho cannot. Before Jessica can ask more questions, Mrs. Yoon stands, pays for the tea, and leaves. Jessica sits alone, staring at the phone number and wondering if she just made a huge mistake. Jessica waits 2 days before calling the number Mrs. Yoon gave her. She spends those days researching everything she can find about Minjun Kang. He's 2 years younger than Jaiho, quieter, less visible in the family business. Where Jae-ho appears at business events and charity functions, Min-jun stays in the background. There are fewer photos of him online, fewer mentions in business news. He's a ghost in his own family. When she finally calls, Min-jun answers on the second ring. His English is perfect, his voice cautious. "This is Jessica," she says. "Mrs. Yoon gave me your number." "I know. She told me you might call. We should meet, but not anywhere my father's people might see us. Are you familiar with Rancho San Antonio in Los Altos Hills?" "The park?" "Yes, tomorrow morning at 6. Park at the main lot and walk toward the Deer Hollow farm. I will find you." He hangs up before she can agree or refuse. Jessica tells Jae-ho about the call that evening, and he's furious that she contacted his brother without discussing it first. They have their first real fight since his parents discovered their marriage, with Jae-ho packing his penthouse and Jessica standing her ground. "Your father is destroying my life," Jessica says. "Your family's silence for 2 weeks wasn't mercy, it was strategy. They're applying pressure until I break. I need to understand what I'm fighting and who might help us. If you have a better plan, I'm listening." Jae-ho doesn't have a better plan. He's used to following his father's rules or openly defying them, but he's never had to outmaneuver him. Jessica is thinking like someone who's had to fight for everything she has, someone who understands that direct confrontation isn't always the answer. After they both calm down, Jae-ho reluctantly agrees to meet Min-jun together. The next morning, they arrive at Rancho San Antonio before dawn. The park is quiet except for early morning hikers and their dogs. They walk toward the Deer Hollow farm, a small educational area with animals and gardens. Min-jun appears from a side trail, wearing running gear and looking like any other Silicon Valley professional out for morning exercise. Up close, Jessica can see the family resemblance. Same sharp features as Jae-ho, but where Jae-ho carries himself with confidence, Min-jun seems weighed down by something heavy. They walk together, maintaining distance from other hikers. Min-jun speaks quietly, watching their surroundings. "Mrs. Yoon told you about the Soul Partnership. What she didn't tell you is that father has been funding it with family money that wasn't his to use. He's been skimming from accounts, diverting resources, all to make this deal happen. If it falls through, the family elders will audit the books and discover what he's done. He will lose everything." "How do you know this?" Jae-ho asks, his voice tight. "Because I help manage the books. I see where the money goes. Father thinks I'm too obedient to question anything, so he's been careless around me." Min-jun stops walking and turns to face them. "I don't want to take over the American operations. I've never wanted any of this. I studied computer science at Stanford because I wanted to build software to create something legitimate. But father won't let me leave. He says the family needs both sons committed to the business." Jessica studies Min-jun carefully. "What do you want from us?" "I want leverage to force father to let me go. If we can gather proof of his financial manipulations, we can take it to the family elders. They don't tolerate theft or deception, even from senior family members. With that proof, I can negotiate my exit, a clean break with enough money to start my own company, no obligations to the family business." "And what do we get?" Jessica asks. "Proof that the marriage arrangement with Haewon was always about money, not tradition or bloodlines. You can use that to argue your case with the elders. If they see that father's real concern is his business deal, not family honor, they may be more sympathetic to your marriage." It's risky. Betraying Mr. Kang could backfire spectacularly. But Jessica is out of options, and she can see Jae-ho considering it seriously. They discuss the plan for an hour, working out details. Min-jun has access to files that Jae-ho doesn't, records of communications with the Seoul family, financial transfers, meeting notes that reference the marriage arrangement as a business transaction. Together, they can build a comprehensive case. Jai-ho makes his decision. If we're doing this, we do it fast. Once father realizes what we're gathering, he'll destroy evidence and come after all of us harder. For the next week, Jessica barely sees Jai-ho. He and Min-jun work in secret, meeting at safe locations to review documents and compile evidence. Jessica continues dealing with the fallout in her own life, fighting the eviction, responding to fake reviews, trying to salvage her business reputation. She moves the most valuable of her photography equipment to a storage unit under a friend's name, just in case. Rochelle, her best friend, shows up at her apartment one evening with takeout and wine. "Okay, talk. You've been weird for weeks. What's going on?" Jessica has kept her marriage secret from everyone, including Rochelle, but sitting in her apartment, surrounded by boxes because she might lose her home, she's tired of lying. She tells Rochelle everything: the secret marriage, Jai-ho's family, the pressure they're under. Rochelle listens without interrupting, and when Jessica finishes, she pours them both more wine. "Girl, you're living in a K-drama. This is insane." Rochelle shakes her head. "But I get it. I've seen how you are with Jai-ho. You're different with him, happier. And if his family is going after you this hard, then they know you're not just some girlfriend he'll get bored with. They're scared of you." "I don't feel very scary right now." "That's because you're tired. But Jessica, you've survived worse than some rich people being mad at you. You'll survive this too." The validation helps. Jessica hasn't realized how much she needed someone on her side who isn't part of Jai-ho's world. They spend the evening eating Chinese food and planning contingencies, and for a few hours, Jessica feels like herself again. Jai-ho and Min-jun finish gathering evidence 10 days after their meeting in the park. They have bank records, emails, meeting transcripts, and signed documents that prove Mr. Kang structured the sole partnership around Jai-ho's marriage to Hae-won. They have evidence of fund diversions and unauthorized use of family resources. It's damning, and it's enough. But the day before they plan to present their case to the family elders, everything falls apart. Jai-ho gets a call from his father requesting an urgent meeting at the family's corporate office in San Francisco's financial district. The office is in a sleek high-rise overlooking the bay, used for legitimate business operations that mask the family's other activities. Jai-ho wants Jessica to come with him, but she convinces him to go alone. If this is about the evidence they've gathered, having her there will only make things worse. Jessica waits in Jai-ho's penthouse, trying to distract herself with work. She edits photos from a recent shoot, responds to emails, updates her website. Every 15 minutes, she checks her phone. 3 hours pass before Jai-ho returns, and Jessica knows immediately that something terrible happened. "He knows," Jai-ho says, his voice flat. "He knows about the evidence, about Min-jun helping us, about everything. Someone told him." Jessica's mind races through possibilities. Mrs. Yoon. "I don't know, father wouldn't say, but he has countermoves ready." Jai-ho pours himself a drink, his hands shaking slightly. "He's manufactured evidence that you've been stealing from my accounts. Forged documents, fake transactions, a whole paper trail showing you've taken hundreds of thousands of dollars over 3 years. He's prepared to press charges unless you sign annulment papers immediately." Jessica feels like the floor has disappeared beneath her. "I've never touched your money. Our finances are completely separate. I have documentation." "It won't matter. He has lawyers and accountants ready to testify. By the time you prove your innocence, you'll be bankrupt from legal fees and your reputation will be destroyed. And that's not all." Jai-ho's voice breaks. "He's threatening to send Min-jun back to Korea permanently if we don't stop. He knows Min-jun helped us and he's punishing him for it." They sit in silence as the magnitude of the situation sinks in. Mr. Kang has outplayed them completely. Every move they made, he anticipated and countered. Jessica feels stupid for thinking they could beat someone who's been playing this game for decades. "What do we do?" Jessica asks. "I don't know. If we go to the family elders now, Father will present his fabricated evidence first. We'll look like we're trying to frame him to cover your theft. If we back down, you lose everything anyway, and Min Jun is sent away. Either way, we lose." Jessica spends a sleepless night thinking through their options. Every scenario ends badly. By morning, she's made a decision, though it terrifies her. She needs to stop playing Mr. Kang's game entirely. If they can't win by fighting him directly, they need to change the battlefield. She calls Mrs. Yoon, who answers on the fourth ring. Jessica asks for one more favor, one more piece of information. She needs to contact Haewon directly, the woman who was supposed to marry Jae-ho. Mrs. Yoon is silent for a long moment before agreeing to arrange a meeting. When Jessica tells Jae-ho her plan, he thinks she's lost her mind. "Haewon has no reason to help us. Her family benefits from the marriage arrangement." Maybe, or maybe she's just as trapped as Min Jun. Mrs. Yoon said love and tradition are just stories people tell. What if Haewon doesn't want this marriage either? It's a desperate gamble, but they're out of better options. Mrs. Yoon arranges a meeting at a luxury hotel in Burlingame, halfway between San Francisco and San Jose. Jessica goes alone, wearing her best dress and her wedding ring visible for the first time in weeks. She doesn't want to hide anymore. Haewon is waiting in the hotel bar, a woman in her late 20s with classical features and an elegant bearing. She's beautiful in a way that makes Jessica understand why the Kang family would want her as a daughter-in-law. But when Jessica introduces herself, Haewon's first words surprise her. "I was wondering when you would contact me. I've known about you for 2 years. Jessica sits down slowly. "How?" "I have my own sources. When my family started pushing the marriage arrangement harder, I investigated. I wanted to know who I was supposed to marry and whether he was someone I could tolerate." Haewon orders a drink, her composure perfect. "I discovered Jae-ho was already in love with someone else. With you, I was relieved." "Relieved?" "Because it meant he wouldn't expect a real marriage either. I am in love with someone my family will never approve, another woman, a Korean-American artist with no family connections. We have been together for 4 years in secret, much like you and Jae-ho. I was planning to marry Jae-ho, maintain separate lives, and continue my real relationship privately. It seemed like the best solution for everyone." Jessica absorbs this information, recalibrating everything she thought she knew. "Your family doesn't know." "Of course not. They would disown me. The marriage arrangement is worth $50 million to them and it secures their status. My personal happiness is irrelevant." Haewon studies Jessica carefully. "Why did you contact me? What do you want?" Jessica takes a breath and makes her pitch. "I want to help you be with the person you love. In exchange, I need your help to expose the truth about the business arrangement. If we can prove that both our families were using this marriage purely for money, we can go to the family elders together. They won't be able to maintain the fiction that this is about tradition or honor." "And what makes you think I would risk everything to help you?" "Because you're already risking everything by loving someone your family won't accept. The only difference is you're doing it quietly, hopping no one notices. I'm asking you to be brave enough to fight for what you actually want." Haewon is quiet for a long time, stirring her drink. Finally, she looks up. "What would helping you look like?" Jessica explains the situation. Mr. Kang's fabricated evidence, the pressure on Min Jun, their failed attempt to gather proof. She explains that they need someone from the Seoul side to verify that the marriage arrangement was always transactional, not traditional. With Haewon's testimony, they can corroborate the evidence that Jae-ho and Min Jun gathered. "If I do this, my family will cut me off completely," Haewon says. I will lose my inheritance, my position, everything. I know. That's why I'm offering to help you disappear afterward. I'm a photographer with connections throughout the U.S. I can help you and your girlfriend relocate, create new identities if necessary, start fresh. It's not much, but it's something. Haewon considers this, and Jessica can see her weighing her entire future in the balance. Finally, she nods. I accept, but we do this properly. I want legal protection, documentation of everything, and a solid plan for my girlfriend and me. If I'm burning my life down, I want to ensure we have something to land on. They spend 3 hours planning every detail. Haewon will provide written testimony about the business arrangement, including emails and documents from her family's side. She'll verify that the marriage was structured as part of the sole partnership from the beginning. In exchange, Jessica will help Haewon and her girlfriend relocate to Seattle, where Jessica has photographer friends who can provide work and housing assistance. Jae-ho will provide financial support to help them establish new lives under different circumstances. When Jessica returns to San Francisco and tells Jae-ho about the meeting, he's stunned. She agreed, just like that. Not just like that. She's been living a lie for years, just like we have. She's tired of it, and she trusts that we understand what it's like to fight for the person you love against impossible odds. With Haewon on their side, they have a chance, but they need to move fast before Mr. Kang discovers what they're planning. Jae-ho contacts the family elders in Los Angeles, requesting a formal hearing. It's his right as a family member, and once requested, it cannot be denied without serious consequences. Mr. Kang will have to face them in front of the people who actually run the organization. The formal hearing is scheduled for the following week at a private estate in Beverly Hills. The delay gives Jessica 7 days to prepare, 7 days of anxiety and second-guessing every decision. She continues dealing with the fallout from Mr. Kang's harassment, her eviction case, her damaged business reputation, the constant surveillance. But now she has a goal beyond just survival. She's going to face the people who control Jae-ho's family and make them see the truth. Min-jun arrives at Jae-ho's penthouse 3 days before the hearing, looking exhausted. Mr. Kang has been watching him closely since discovering his involvement in gathering evidence. Min-jun has been careful, maintaining his obedient facade while secretly passing information to Jae-ho. He brings more documents, including recent communications that prove Mr. Kang is panicking about losing the Seoul deal. Father knows something is happening, Min-jun says. He's been making calls to Los Angeles, trying to influence the elders before the hearing. He's preparing his own evidence against Jessica, and he's ready to claim that Jae-ho has been manipulated by her. Jessica expected this. Mr. Kang's strategy will be to paint her as a gold digger who seduced Jae-ho and is now trying to extort the family. The fabricated theft charges are just part of a larger narrative he's constructing. She needs to be ready to defend not just her marriage, but her entire character. Rochelle helps Jessica prepare her testimony, practicing questions and answers until Jessica can respond with confidence. Haewon sends her statement via encrypted email, a detailed account of the marriage arrangement from the Seoul family's perspective. It's damning evidence that corroborates everything Jae-ho and Min-jun gathered. The night before the hearing, Jessica can't sleep. She lies awake in Jae-ho's penthouse, staring at the ceiling and thinking about how her life has changed. 3 years ago, she was a struggling photographer worried about making rent. Now she's about to face the leaders of a criminal organization and argue for her right to love their heir. It's absurd and terrifying, and she's more scared than she's ever been. Jae-ho holds her close. Whatever happens tomorrow, we face it together. No more secrets, no more hiding. We're fighting for us. What if we lose? Then we lose everything except each other. and that's still more than most people ever have. They arrive at the Beverly Hills estate early in the morning. The property is massive, hidden behind walls and guards, old money disguised as respectability. Inside, the main house is decorated with a blend of Korean and American art, expensive and impersonal. They're led to a conference room with a long table where 6 elders are already seated. These are Mr. Kang's superiors, the people who actually run the organization. They're older, some in their 70s, men and women who have spent decades building power and maintaining control. Mr. and Mrs. Kang arrive separately, sitting across from Jai-ho and Jessica. Mrs. Kang won't make eye contact, her face carefully blank. Mr. Kang looks confident, his posture relaxed. He thinks he's already won. Min-jun sits to the side, technically there as a witness but really there for support. The head elder, a woman named Mrs. Lee, calls the hearing to order. She's in her 70s with silver hair and eyes that miss nothing. She speaks in English for Jessica's benefit, her accent minimal. We are here because Jai-ho Kang has requested a formal hearing regarding his marriage and his position in the family. Mr. Kang has filed counter-complaints regarding financial impropriety and breach of family agreements. We will hear from all parties and make a determination. Jai-ho, you requested this hearing. Speak first. Jai-ho stands, and Jessica can see how much this costs him. He's about to accuse his father in front of the family leadership, something that goes against every instinct he was raised with. But he does it anyway. 3 years ago, I married Jessica Rivera. We kept the marriage secret because I knew my father had arranged a different marriage for business purposes. I was wrong to lie, but I was not wrong to marry Jessica. She is my wife, and I love her. My father has responded to this by threatening my wife, destroying her business, and fabricating evidence of crimes she did not commit. He has done this not because of family honor, but because my marriage threatens a business deal worth $50 million. Mr. Kang interrupts. These are serious accusations from a son who has betrayed family agreements and married a woman who has been stealing from him. I have never stolen anything, Jessica says, her voice clear. She stands and all eyes turn to her. She's the outsider here, the only non-Korean in the room, but she won't be intimidated. Mr. Kang has created false evidence because he cannot accept that his son chose me over the business arrangement he made. I have documentation proving my finances are separate from Jai-ho's. I have never asked him for money, never taken anything I didn't earn. Mrs. Lee raises a hand for silence. We will examine evidence in order. Mr. Kang, present your case first. Mr. Kang stands and presents his fabricated evidence. Bank statements showing transfers from Jai-ho's accounts to Jessica's, invoices for photography services that are vastly overpriced, documents suggesting she knew about Jai-ho's family business and used that knowledge to manipulate him. It's a thorough construction, and Jessica feels her confidence wavering. How can she prove a negative? How can she prove she didn't do things when there are documents saying she did? Then it's Jai-ho's turn. He presents the evidence he and Min-jun gathered, the communications with the Seoul family, the financial records showing unauthorized fund transfers, the documents proving the marriage arrangement was structured as part of a business partnership. He shows the timeline, demonstrating that Mr. Kang began arranging the marriage with Hae-won before Jai-ho even met Jessica. Min-jun testifies next, confirming the financial irregularities and his father's use of family resources without authorization. He's nervous but thorough, and Jessica can see the elders taking him seriously. Then comes the surprise that Mr. Kang didn't anticipate. Mrs. Lee looks at a document on her tablet. We have received testimony from Seoul via secure communication. Hae-won Park has provided a statement. Would you like me to read it? Mr. Kang's confidence cracks for the first time. That is unnecessary. The arrangement with Hae-won's family is a private matter. "Nothing is private in this hearing," Mrs. Lee says. She reads Haewon's statement aloud, and it's devastating. Haewon describes how her family structured the marriage as a business transaction, how she was told to view Jae-ho as a partner in a financial arrangement, not a real husband. She confirms the $50 million value and describes how both families plan to use the marriage to strengthen their business positions. She concludes by stating that she never wanted to marry Jae-ho and that she supports his choice to marry someone he actually loves. The room is silent when Mrs. Lee finishes reading. Mr. Kang's face is pale, and Mrs. Kang has tears in her eyes again. The other elders confer quietly in Korean, and Jessica holds Jae-ho's hand under the table, barely breathing. Finally, Jae-ho speaks again, and his voice is steady. "I have followed family rules my entire life. I built the American operations into the most profitable division we have. I have earned money, respect, and connections for this family. I have never asked for anything for myself until now. I am asking you to recognize my marriage to Jessica and to let me continue my work without interference. If you cannot accept this, I will leave the family completely and take my chances outside your protection. But I will not divorce my wife." It's a threat, and everyone in the room knows it. If Jae-ho leaves and decides to cooperate with law enforcement, he could cause serious damage. He knows too much, has access to too many secrets. The elders lean back, considering this new information. Mrs. Lee calls for a recess. They deliberate in a private room for 2 hours while everyone else waits in separate spaces. Jessica sits in a sunroom overlooking the gardens, trying to calm her racing heart. This is it, the moment that determines her entire future. She thinks about what she'll do if they lose, how she and Jae-ho will rebuild their lives with nothing. She thinks about the photography business she built, the dreams she had before she met Jae-ho. Can she get that back? Does she even want to? When they're finally called back to the conference room, Jessica can't read the elders' faces. Mrs. Lee waits until everyone is seated before speaking. "We have reviewed all evidence and testimony. This is our determination. Mr. Kang, you have violated family protocols by using unauthorized funds for personal business ventures. You structured a marriage arrangement without full disclosure to the family leadership, and you fabricated evidence against Jessica Rivera. These actions are unacceptable. You are removed from your leadership position effective immediately and will return to Korea to face further review by the Seoul elders." Mr. Kang's face goes rigid, but he doesn't speak. Mrs. Lee continues. "Minjun Kang, you have shown initiative and honesty in bringing these matters to light. You will temporarily assume oversight of American operations. However, we understand you wish to pursue other interests. You may do so with a severance package equivalent to 3 years of your current salary, effective once you have trained an appropriate replacement." Minjun bows his head, relief visible in his posture. Then Mrs. Lee turns to Jae-ho and Jessica. "Jae-ho Kang, your marriage to Jessica Rivera is recognized by this family. Your decision to keep it secret was wrong, but your reasons are now understood. You will continue managing the American business operations with full authority. Jessica Rivera, as Jae-ho's wife, you are entitled to family protection and resources. You will also be expected to uphold family confidentiality and represent us appropriately in public." Jessica feels tears running down her face, and she doesn't even try to hide them. They won. Against every odd, against Mr. Kang's power and resources, they actually won. Jae-ho squeezes her hand so hard it hurts, and she squeezes back just as hard. Mrs. Lee isn't finished. "However, I will speak plainly. Your marriage will face scrutiny from other families and organizations. There will be people who never accept you, Jessica. But strength and loyalty are valued in our culture above all else, and you have demonstrated both. If you can survive what you have already faced, you can survive what comes next." The hearing ends. Mr. and Mrs. Kang leave without speaking to Jai-ho or Jessica, their defeat absolute. Min-jun hugs his brother, the first real physical affection Jessica has seen between them. The other elders offer brief congratulations before departing, and suddenly Jessica and Jai-ho are alone in the conference room. "We did it," Jai-ho says, his voice full of wonder. "We actually did it." Jessica laughs and cries at the same time, the stress of the past weeks finally breaking through. They hold each other in that conference room and let themselves feel the impossible relief of survival. The weeks following the hearing are chaotic in a completely different way. News of Mr. Kang's removal spreads through the organization quickly, and people start treating Jessica and Jai-ho differently. Some are respectful, understanding that challenging the family leadership and winning means they have real power. Others are curious, wanting to know more about the Black American woman who married into the Kang family. A few are coldly polite, making it clear they view Jessica as an outsider who got lucky. Jessica handles each interaction with the grace she's developed over years of being underestimated. She's polite but not deferential, friendly but not desperate for approval. She learned a long time ago that she can't make everyone like her, so she focuses on earning respect instead. Her photography business rebounds almost overnight. The clients who canceled their contracts reach out with apologies and new offers. Her website gets fixed, the fake reviews disappear, and her landlord suddenly discovers that the eviction notice was filed in error. Jessica knows it's because she's now under family protection, and there's something unsettling about that. She built her business on her own talent and work ethic, and having success handed to her feels wrong. But she's also pragmatic enough to accept help when it's offered. She hires 2 assistants, both young photographers looking for experience. She opens a small gallery space in the Mission District, a neighborhood in San Francisco known for its art scene. The gallery is modest, just a storefront with good light and exposed brick walls, but it's hers. She curates shows featuring photographers who rarely get mainstream exposure: immigrants, people of color, artists working in marginalized communities. It becomes successful quickly, partly because of her talent for discovering good work, and partly because having the Kang name attached brings attention and funding. Min-jun thrives in his new role, though everyone knows it's temporary. He makes changes to the American operations, distancing them from the more questionable activities and focusing on legitimate business growth. He's good at it, which surprises some people but doesn't surprise Jessica. He was never suited for the ruthless side of family business, but he has a mind for strategy and logistics. When he finally leaves a year later, he trains his replacement thoroughly and departs with the family's blessing. He starts a software company focused on supply chain optimization, and Jai-ho becomes one of his first investors. Hae-won keeps her promise and provides all the testimony and documents they needed. True to Jessica's word, she helps Hae-won and her girlfriend relocate to Seattle. Jessica uses her connections in the photography community to find Hae-won work at an art museum, and her girlfriend gets a position at a local gallery. They create new identities, not fake identities, but simplified versions of themselves that let them live quietly without family interference. Hae-won sends Jessica updates occasionally, photos of her new life, messages thanking her for the courage to finally be herself. Mrs. Yoon becomes an unexpected friend. She reaches out a month after the hearing, inviting Jessica to lunch. Over Korean food in a Palo Alto restaurant, Mrs. Yoon explains that she helped because she was tired of watching the Kang family destroy good things for business purposes. She lost her own daughter to family pressure years ago, a daughter who married someone the family disapproved of and was cut off completely. Mrs. Yoon hasn't spoken to her daughter in 15 years, and she carries that regret every day. Helping Jessica was partly about atonement, about making sure at least one woman didn't lose everything for choosing love. But Jessica's relationship with Mrs. Kang remains broken. Jai-ho's mother refuses to speak to her, refuses to acknowledge her presence at family events. When Jai-ho calls his mother, she answers but keeps conversations brief and cold. Mr. Kang, now back in Korea and stripped of power, maintains complete silence. Jessica tells herself she's okay with this. She didn't marry Jai-ho to gain parental approval, but she sees how it hurts Jai-ho, and that hurts her too. He's lost his parents over this marriage, and even though it was his choice, the grief is real. 6 months after the hearing, Jessica is shooting a wedding in Sausalito, a beautiful waterfront city just north of San Francisco. It's a same-sex wedding, 2 women getting married on a yacht with the Golden Gate Bridge as their backdrop. Jessica loves shooting queer weddings. There's always extra joy in them, extra appreciation for the right to marry openly. She's setting up her equipment when she notices a familiar black SUV parked across the street. Different from Jai-ho's security team, watching the venue with obvious intent. She ignores it and focuses on her work, but the SUV is still there when the wedding ends 5 hours later. She mentions it to Jai-ho that evening, and his expression darkens. He makes calls, reaches out to his security team, and confirms what Jessica suspected. Someone is following her again. Over the next week, the surveillance escalates. The same SUV appears outside Jessica's gallery, outside their apartment building in Pacific Heights, outside the coffee shop where she meets clients. It's not subtle. Whoever is behind it wants her to know she's being watched. Then the real harassment begins. Fake negative reviews flood her business pages again, dozens of them appearing overnight from accounts that are clearly fabricated. Someone breaks into her gallery after hours, smashing equipment and destroying prints worth thousands of dollars. Nothing is stolen. It's pure vandalism designed to send a message. Then Jessica starts receiving text messages from unknown numbers, threatening messages that reference specific details about her daily routine, places she's been, people she's talked to. Jai-ho is furious and wants to respond with force, but Jessica stops him. She's learned enough about his world to know that responding with violence creates cycles of retaliation that never end. Instead, she does what she's learned to do in this family. She uses the structure and hierarchy. Jai-ho investigates and discovers the truth. Mr. Kang, humiliated by his removal and stuck in Korea under the elder's supervision, has hired people outside the family to harass Jessica. He's using personal funds and contacts that aren't under family control, trying to exact revenge without technically violating the elder's orders. It's petty and vindictive, and it shows how much losing to Jessica destroyed his pride. Jessica makes a decision that surprises even Jai-ho. She's going to Los Angeles to meet with Mrs. Lee, the head elder, without telling Jai-ho first. She's learned that in this world, showing initiative and strength matters more than following every protocol. She calls Mrs. Lee's office, requests a meeting, and is granted one for the following week. Jai-ho is both proud and worried when she tells him, "Are you sure? Going alone sends a specific message." "I know. I'm sending the message that I'm not just Jai-ho's wife who needs protection. I'm a member of this family who can handle her own problems using family resources." She flies to Los Angeles and meets Mrs. Lee at a restaurant in downtown Beverly Hills. Mrs. Lee arrives precisely on time, and they order tea before discussing business. Jessica has learned that in Korean culture, especially with elders, there's a specific way to show respect while also demonstrating strength. She's studied, practiced with Jai-ho, and now she's ready to navigate this conversation correctly. "Mrs. Lee, I am grateful for your time. I am here because Mr. Kang is violating the spirit of your ruling. He is using outside resources to harass me, trying to drive me away from Jai-ho without technically disobeying your orders. I could ask Jai-ho to handle this, but I wanted to address it directly with you instead." Mrs. Lee listens without interrupting as Jessica presents evidence. The surveillance reports, the vandalism photos, the threatening messages, the connection to Mr. Kang through intermediaries. When Jessica finishes, Mrs. Lee nods slowly. "You were right to come to me directly. This shows you understand family structure and respect proper channels. Many outsiders marry into families like ours and expect their husbands to solve every problem. You are taking responsibility for your own position. I want to be a valuable family member, not a burden to Jaiho. You already are valuable. You had the courage to fight for your marriage, and you had the intelligence to win. Those are rare qualities." Mrs. Lee makes a phone call in Korean, speaking briefly before hanging up. "Mr. Kang will be informed that any further action against you will result in permanent exile from the family and loss of all financial support. He will comply because he cannot afford to lose everything." "Thank you." "Do not thank me. You earned this protection by proving yourself. Continue to do so, and you will have a place in this family that no one can challenge." The harassment stops immediately after Mrs. Lee's intervention. Mr. Kang is warned that he's one step away from losing everything, and even his wounded pride isn't worth that cost. Jaiho is amazed by how Jessica handled the situation, and their relationship shifts in a subtle way. He's always loved her, but now he also respects her as a partner who can navigate his world independently. Jessica's confidence grows. She's not just surviving in the Kang family anymore. She's building her own reputation within it. People start approaching her directly for favors and introductions, recognizing that she has influence. She uses it carefully, helping people when she can, building relationships based on mutual respect rather than fear or obligation. A year after their marriage was revealed, Jessica and Jaiho are finally ready to celebrate properly. They buy a house in Woodside, one of the wealthiest communities in Silicon Valley, a modern mansion with huge windows overlooking the hills. Jessica designs the interior herself, blending Jaiho's Korean heritage with her own aesthetic. She fills the house with art from emerging photographers, pieces from her gallery, personal photos of their journey together. It's beautiful and comfortable, a home that reflects both of them. They host a celebration dinner on a Saturday evening in late spring. It's not a wedding reception, they're past that, but a gathering to mark their survival and success. Minjun comes with his girlfriend Rachel, a Korean-American lawyer he met through Jessica's network. Mrs. Yoon arrives with her daughter, whom she reconnected with after years of estrangement, partially inspired by Jessica's story. Several family members attend, people who have accepted Jessica and respect what she represents. Even some of Jaiho's business partners show up, people who once questioned his choice, but now recognize that Jessica makes him better. The most surprising moment comes when a delivery arrives during the party. Jaiho signs for a package addressed to Jessica, and when she opens it, she finds a traditional Korean bracelet made of jade and gold. It's old, clearly an heirloom, and Jaiho recognizes it immediately. His face goes pale, and his hands shake slightly as he examines it. "This belonged to my grandmother. My mother inherited it when grandmother died, and it's supposed to be given too." He can't finish the sentence. Jessica finds a small card inside the box, written in careful English. "For the daughter-in-law who earned her place, Mrs. Kang." It's not a long message, and it's not warm, but it's an acknowledgement. In Korean culture, passing down family jewelry carries specific meaning, especially from mother-in-law to daughter-in-law. It's Mrs. Kang's way of saying she's trying, even if she can't bring herself to say it directly. Jessica cries when she realizes what the bracelet means, and Jaiho holds her while their guests give them space. Later, when everyone is settled at the long dining table Jessica commissioned from a local artisan, Jaiho stands to make a toast. He thanks everyone for coming, for supporting them through the hardest year of their lives. He talks about what it means to fight for love and to build something real in a world that often values power over everything else. Then he looks at Jessica, and there's something in his expression that makes her heart stop. "Jessica and I have news to share. We found out 3 weeks ago and we wanted to tell our family first." He reaches for her hand, and Jessica stands beside him, her heart racing. "We're having a baby. Jessica is pregnant." The room erupts in congratulations and joy. Minjun hugs his brother, Rachel hugs Jessica, Mrs. Yoon cries happy tears. People crowd around them with questions and excitement, and Jessica feels overwhelmed by the love and acceptance. This is her family now, these people who stood by them or came to respect them. This is what they fought for, not just their marriage, but the future they're building together. That night, after everyone has left and they're cleaning up together, Jai-ho finds Jessica standing on their balcony. The lights of Silicon Valley spread across the valley below them, thousands of homes and businesses and lives intersecting in the darkness. Jessica wears the jade bracelet from Mrs. Kang on one wrist and her wedding ring on her left hand. Both symbols are visible now, nothing hidden anymore. "Are you happy?" Jai-ho asks, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "I'm terrified," Jessica admits. "I'm about to have a baby with a man whose family runs a criminal organization. I'm going to raise a child in a world where threats and danger are always possible. This isn't the life I imagined when I was studying photography at San Francisco State." "Do you regret it?" Jessica thinks about everything they've been through. The secret marriage, the discovery, the fights, the betrayals, the moment she almost lost everything. She thinks about Mr. Kang's harassment and Mrs. Lee's tests and the constant pressure of living in a world where power and money matter more than fairness. She thinks about how hard she's had to fight just to be with the person she loves. "No," she says finally, "I don't regret any of it. Because I got you, and now we're getting this baby, and we're building something real together. We fought for this marriage, Jai-ho. We earned it, and no one can ever take that away from us." "I love you," he says, and it's not the first time he's said it, but it feels different now. They're not hiding anymore. They're not waiting for the next disaster. They're just two people who chose each other against impossible odds and won. They stand together on the balcony, watching the city lights and thinking about the future. Their story isn't over. There will be new challenges, new threats, new people who don't accept them. Mrs. Kang might never fully embrace Jessica, and Mr. Kang will carry his resentment forever. There will be family politics and business complications, and the constant work of navigating two worlds that weren't designed to fit together. But they've proven they can survive. More than that, they've proven they can thrive. Jessica built her business despite everything. Jai-ho stood up to his father and won, and together they created a marriage that exists on their own terms. They've shown that love can be stronger than family expectations, that courage can defeat power, and that sometimes the greatest victory is simply refusing to give up on what matters most. Jessica touches her stomach, thinking about the child growing inside her. A child who will be part of both worlds, Korean and American, who will carry both families' legacies and hopefully inherit their strength. She doesn't know what challenges that child will face, but she knows they'll face them together as a family. "Come inside," Jai-ho says. "It's getting cold." They go back into their home, into the life they built through sacrifice and courage and relentless determination. The lights of the city continue glowing below them, and somewhere in Los Angeles, Mrs. Lee reviews family business reports. Somewhere in Korea, Mr. Kang sits in his reduced circumstances, still bitter about his defeat. Somewhere in Seattle, Haewon holds her girlfriend's hand and feels grateful for the freedom she found. And in their house in Woodside, Jessica and Jai-ho curl up together in their bedroom, planning for the future. They talk about baby names and nursery colors, and how to tell their child the complicated story of how their parents met and fell in love. They talk about expanding Jessica's gallery and Jaiho's plans to transition more family operations to legitimate business. They talk about the life they want to create, the family they want to be. When they finally fall asleep, Jessica is wearing her grandmother-in-law's bracelet and her wedding ring. The ring she forgot to take off that night in San Francisco, the one that exposed their secret and changed everything. She'll never take it off again. It's not a secret anymore. It's a promise she kept, a marriage she fought for, and a love that survived everything. Their story ends here, with victory and love and hope, with a family that's chosen and fought for and earned, with two people who refuse to let the world tell them who they could be or who they could love. They won, and they're still winning, and they'll keep winning for as long as they stand together. This is what a happy ending looks like in the real world, messy and complicated and hard-earned. But it's real, and it's theirs, and that makes it perfect. Thank you for watching to the end. Please remember to click the subscribe button and make sure you like this video, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Thank you.